Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform to bring hazmat response information and training tips from around the globe for hazmat members. And I am Bobby Saus. I'm here with Bob Kosh, the once benevolent connoisseur of fine foods. Here once again. And I think it's just me and you tonight, right?
Yeah, Phil be on in shortly.
It's very
this is weird, yeah. It's almost like we're on a date.
It is. It's very well. All right.
No, kind of.
I did it worse.
Yeah. Mike's on a run in Manhattan somewhere right now.
Yeah.
Saving lives and property or doing something. Jason, happy anniversary to you and your lovely wife. Which
he's going for Starbucks in Manhattan.
That's it. I did listen to side note. I did listen to Jason's wife's news intro.
Yes,
and the ending piece,
spectacular.
That she did. It was good. It was. I like the references she made to. I think me.
Yeah. Well, for those that don't know, we've been tinkering in the background for quite a while. Actually, when the Hazmat Guys met the Hazmat Nation back in
December,
November, somewhere around there. Yeah. We met in Queens, New York. For a drink or a 12 and
12.
The initial thing was, we have a podcast and they have a news aggregator, and why don't we do the news in a verbal format so that, while you're driving to work, you get the game, you get the whole, you get all the news worthy of listening to within like 5 to 10 minutes, because that's what we wanted. We wanted a really sweet, short amount of time that you can say, that's cool, I want to hear more about it, and I would go to the website and investigate it more, or, yeah, that's not so much. So we've been playing around with openings, and we've been playing around with formats and music and all that stuff, and that's coming live, I'm going to say, in a week or two?
Yeah.
I'm going to say. Let's see that'll be under the. I think I have to reformat it because I think it's going to be under the Hazmat Guys News, because I think I ran out of characters under iTunes. But that is going to be live. So if you want to subscribe to that on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music, everything, it's already out. We just don't have any episodes in it yet, but they will be coming.
And the whole idea of it is, once we do the news, probably like on a Thursday-ish.
Yeah.
And then we're going to follow that up Tuesday night and role play.
Yeah, just
those events.
And you know what? We didn't really want it to be like a 2020's hindsight or that armchair back where we're second guessing the guys on scene.
Right.
That is hard enough as it is. But, what would we do if we were thrown into that? And I purposely do not look very much into the news because I want to be on my heels, like I'm really going to be there. Right. So how do you do it? So,
and we've got the third person of our sometimes foursome or whatever we end up having. Fivesome? Is that right? Hello, Philip. How are you this evening?
Very good. I had to get dinner on for the guys, and I did it. I think almost in time.
Captain cooks. Well, I cooked sort of last day.
We are at a 4-person house. We all take our turn, and now my turn doesn't come around again. Yeah, we all take a hit.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I have guys in my firehouse that would burn water.
Oh, we are very picky here. Those they wouldn't last long at this station.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, all right. Well, let's see what Madam Ruby sees. Let's see. I have here some news articles that our good friend Jason Rogers has aggregated for us. And story number 1 is 150 evacuated after a chemical spill in a Chino warehouse. Now, where is Chino? I don't know. Chino,
California, right?
California.
Yeah, Riverside County. Yeah, it's east of Los Angeles. We'll put it that way.
Okay, which just is about the entire country. So,
well, good thing you pick up on that. But we'll describe Chino as being a suburb, but they've actually got, that out that direction is where you get intermodals and storage and things like that. So they do have some big structures that not necessarily produce chemicals, but they might store them or use them.
All right. Well, a 200-gallon chemical spill at a Chino warehouse Thursday afternoon forced the evacuation of about 150 employees, but injured nobody, according to a fire official. The spill of a flammable liquid used to remove graffiti was reported, and the 4600 blah blah blah. Employees were already evacuating the building when the firefighters arrived. The spill was contained to the warehouse, and they called in a cleanup company. It looks like firefighter paramedics checked out one person at the request of the supervisor for an unspecified reason, but they were not hospitalized. What do you think about a graffiti remover? And I would say it's very likely that it's going to be a flammable. Just off the cuff.
Yeah, totally a solvent.
Yeah. Jason Kerr is asking, is this live? And
yeah, I just shot him a text. Yeah.
Well, never mind.
I don't know anything about graffiti removers, in depth, but I'm going to wager a guess that they are going to be a solvent of some type that's going to remove paint, right? It's a bold statement. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, painting or lacquer thinner. I mean, if you've got
Mech.
yeah, mech.
These things are out there, and they're highly flammable vapors. They're highly flammable liquids, and you got to deal with it appropriately. And this happened inside of a place, so you also got to take into account the old Me Too syndrome.
Right. Oh yeah.
Where the lady that was, I don't want to say lady, but the guy or the person that was 1,600 feet away from it in the other side of the warehouse that was like, what, Joe in the warehouse is hurt? Oh, I feel it. I feel it too. I got a little tight in the chest.
Is it Friday at 2 o'clock?
Yeah, right?
Well, Thursday is better because you get an extra day.
Oh,
that's true.
You obviously worked this.
But what are you going to do about it? Like, Bob, let's say Bob Kosh, you're going into pick a generic warehouse. I'm envisioning something with like a small office, maybe a 10 office in the side that's sheetrocked crappily. Like it's got a crappy old window that doesn't work, and the rest of it is just a crappy, high-low warehouse with a roll-down gate, and they spill this crap.
And there's graffiti all over the outside of the building.
Right. They can't even clean their own stuff up because they sell it,
Right. And you've got some kind of camera that's dangling down from the ceiling that, probably fell down. It's supposed to be watching everybody. That doesn't really work. It's funny you mention that because we actually, part of the area that I work in has a lot of hazmat warehouses and whatnot. And, there's stuff all over that. So one of the first things you're gonna do is you pull up, just see if that 704 placard is on the outside of the building. You might be going there, and as we talk about some of the classes, and like the class that we're going to be doing in Virginia Beach, the gray area where rescue meets hazmat, it could come in as a medical call, shortness of breath, and then you pull up and, hey, on the way there you don't have one, you have 15 people. That should be the clue number one. And like you said, it could be a third of those are, psychosomatic, and the rest might actually have something. So, as with anything, do caution. Try to get somebody to meet you outside before you go inside.
Right.
And just by nature of what the business is, by sizing it up, maybe get a guy or two to get bunker gear, SCBA, air pack. If you're an engine company with a 4-gas meter, go in there and check it out while the guys are checking out the people, and kind of go from there. Slow roll.
It's interesting because Jason Kerr just said high VP, high vapor pressure, ventilate, watch the VOC, and let the LEL. Right? Do you agree, Phil, with the PPE selection of a bunker gear, SCBA, 5-gas, maybe a little pH paper, PID? Do you have anything you would do differently, or do you agree with that?
I got to get my name up too, like you guys.
But I got to write it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take it back one step further, like Bob just did. It's a business. businesses should be trained to evacuate, have their casualty collection point, an area to evacuate, and starting off with the amount, 200 gallons, it may or may not be, meaning that could have been what was reported. We know, and I know you guys were just mentioning, sometimes the news article we check and we see is dubious at best as far as the facts, and then the great thing about Hazmat Nation is we keep getting people that were on scene sending us good stuff, and we're going to post more and more of that. I get the people out, and exactly what you just said. I was going to say I disagree with whatever Jason Kerr says, just to be controversial, but no, because doing it the same, because it's like anything else. It's hot out here in California right now. We wear full turnouts on the freeway. It's what we do, and you start changing from that, and then you pull up on something and you wish you did. So you do the bunker gear, you do the SCBA because it's completely natural. You get the meters you mentioned, and you go in and you sweep it, and then the less time, and then there's the less time for the psychosomatic people to call home and say, hey, this is what's going on. And you can help clear the call. Not to say rush the call, but you just do it right. It's, I think, going to clear quicker than him and Han, and kind of like, it's not like you're doing overkill. You're clearing it and making sure you've got a liquid on the floor. Now, ignition sources, all the rest of that thing, that's something to consider too. And then your PPE for cleanup. You make that determination with the turnouts. You might just be in there cleaning up, once you have the MSDS.
Yeah, and they might turn it over to a contractor to clean up. What do you have on your rig that's going to take care of 200 gallons of a flammable liquid?
The one thing I would add to that is pH paper. Just keep that out handy. In case if it's a corrosive. I mean, if you go down the list, radioactive is definitely, I'm going to say definitely not. I'm comfortable saying just definitely, because there's never any always and nevers. But I'll say this, that's probably a very, very unlikely scenario. But pH, flammability, PID is going to help you narrow it. Is it necessary? No, it's not, but it's going to help you narrow it. It's going to help you put that organic or inorganic into it, and it's going to also make your resolution of metering a lot more fine.
Yeah.
We and there's that saying in EMS: if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's don't be fooled by that. You've been on the homeless guy 100 times on the same thing, and now he's having the big one. If you do all that, because we had something similar. It wasn't a spill at an active business. It was actually post-fire and some spill. And we approached it in a way as if it was just like that potential something liquid. Yeah, there'd been a fire, so if it was flammable, it'd be on fire. And, we threw pH paper in it, and it comes back 11, indicating maybe some ammonia and things like that. It didn't go sideways, meaning, but it threw us for a loop. But we went through each step, and then we were able to step back and get it on the Hazmat ID. Same thing for this, and you look at how they apply it. They might spray this stuff, to do the graffiti removal. Now it just happens to be on the floor. But I agree, just in case it was one of the other products, unless it was really, 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 really obvious.
Yeah.
Just do it right from the beginning, and it'll clear quicker.
And the one thing we didn't mention was ventilate. Open bay doors, windows, whatever you got.
And again, we don't have to really say it, but I'm hurt. I don't really think we have to talk about, especially with the flammable, we don't do negative ventilation.
Right.
We do positive pressure ventilation.
Right.
And you wouldn't, if I had the option of doing it through the office door where the assistant secretaries, whatever they want to be called today, enter, or the garage door, I'm going to positive pressure the small door and let it just come out low pressure at the big door.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, all right, you want to do story 2? You want to look at you?
It's backwards.
I had to write like a third grader. That was hard.
Funny. All right, let's see. Story number 2. A hazmat team responded to Egan, Flanagan, and Cohen office in Springfield following a chemical leak. I guess I'm guessing Springfield, Ohio. The lower offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe were evacuated Friday afternoon after a disused fire suppression system began to leak, sending decades-old extinguishing chemical agents into the building's basement. The firefighters were called in, and a regional hazmat team was en route. The extinguishing agent was commonly used upwards of 60 years ago, but fell out of favor due to its carcinogenic and corrosive properties.
Wow.
It's a type of extinguishing agent which was set up on a fusible link, so when the room gets to a certain temperature or a fire gets into the fusible link, it activates and the system is under pressure and sprays out all of its contents. It puts out fires, but it's very corrosive. It's not good for people.
Side note.
Yeah, the lawyers said when they told us to get out, we got out. Good for them. So.
You mean they didn't stand there and make an argument?
Yeah.
Checking the fine print.
Oh, it's Massachusetts. It's Springfield, Massachusetts.
It is Mass. We've had a whole lot of news out of Massachusetts.
Crazy.
Yeah, it seems to be the hub of the hazmat world. It seems like, and yeah, thank you very much, Mike Burns, for saying that little thing there. So, as far as the extinguishers, I went back to find out what kind of these extinguishers, and these things, I mean, we've had extinguishers way back. I mean, like, these things were made in the I'm going to say I'm looking probably not even far enough back, but I'm seeing them back into the 1800s. And just a quick thing, they had the glass grenade style extinguisher, which was very popular. It looked like kind of like an old style is Mike Komura. Old style glass incandescent bulb that had usually like carbon tetrachloride in that.
Heavy.
Was that?
Very heavy.
Yeah, it was surprisingly that liquid is heavy.
It's all that chlorine.
They use soda acid extinguishers, which you might find them. I actually have a couple of them around here. They are old copper, where you inverted it. It would mix, and it would actually extinguish at the top. They had the pyrene, the brass carbon tetrachlorides. Bell Telephone had a CO2 from 1928. Dew gas was a dry chemical in 1945, and then in the 50s, Ansell came out with the Metal X and all that types of stuff. So there are a lot of them out there, like the carbon tetrachloride that was confirmed carcinogen. So maybe that's the one they're talking about. I mean, that's
yeah. I believe from the article it was carbon tet.
The bong. That's yeah, it was a bomb.
Oh, I thought you said bong water. It's California.
Yeah.
Yeah, carbon tet. Yep.
Yeah, but it seems like, I'm just kind of rapidly reading this, but the soda acid had aluminum sulfate with a frothy foam. Carbon dioxide gas was liberated. Pyrene used carbon tetrachloride to extinguish fires. That was consumed the fires, but it exuded phosgene gas. I didn't know that. In the 40s, Germany included chlorobromomethane, which was then later used as a chemical warfare agent, which is nice. So they got that going for them. But
later on they'll have total consciousness.
Yeah, right. And then ABC chemical agents came over in the 50s, with Super K being invented in the 60s, and then Purple K by the U.S. Navy in the 60s, which is pretty much what we are using. What is that? Potassium permanganate, right? Is that what that is? I don't remember what that is. I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
And then we get into Metal X and Lithex and all that other type of stuff, Halon and that stuff like. So I mean, carcinogen and corrosive.
I want to go back even to the dispatch now. Massachusetts, they've got some old buildings. I think some of them go back to like the 50s, like the 1750s.
Yeah, like
But
harbor.
yeah, they've
Hubba.
so maybe, and we've got several that might watch. They can chime in, but I would, if I went on something that anywhere in my region, they'd be the last thing I'd be thinking of out the gate. I will now, but that's I think fairly unusual. A charged Carbon-Tet system. And then it's in an unusual location. You went from a graffiti removal place, which we could all kind of picture, industrial and all that, to a law office. So if that one came in, I don't know if it said in the article how it came in, but if that one came in heck, it could have been from a minor flooding to some sort of exposure. That would be a head scratcher right off the bat until you figure out what it is. And then once you figure out what it is, that stuff, they use it in universities too. I remember it quite well because if you pick up a 1-gallon bottle of acetone, similar to water, you pick up Carbon-Tet, you're struggling. It is it's very heavy liquid.
Yeah. I'm looking up real quick in the NIOSH. Sorry, Bobby. It is a confirmed carcinogen. It is very heavy. It's 153 on the molecular weight when you think about, in relationship to water. That's pretty freaking heavy. And
how heavy is it?
5.9. That's definitely going to drop down. I'm looking for corrosiveness. Incompatibilities and reactivities. Chemically active metals such as sodium, potassium, magnesium, fluorine, aluminum forms highly toxic phosgene gas when exposed to flames or welding arcs. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it came in as it was leaking, so that could have been depending how it came out. If it comes out as a liquid, a liquid leak, somebody might have mistaken it as a water leak, or so it could have. I don't really know, but it could have been something like a water leak or water salvage type call, and then they get there and they discover it's something else, or they saw a mass product release and people started burning eyes or whatever the case may be.
I mean, imagine that too. Carbon-Tet, if it was over a cubicle area or wherever they're working. I'm not sure it goes into detail on that, but that can be you're first in, all of a sudden you got people running out of a law office complaining, and they've got substance on them requiring decon. That could definitely be something that turns into something.
And it was in the basement too. So is there moisture in the basement that it might be reacting with?
You know what? I would just look to see if it's 60, 70 years old. Did it dehydrate into a crystalline format? And I just want people to understand where I'm going with this, because I went and looked in the NIOSH and the solubility is 0.05%, which tells me that it's very, very unlikely that water was built into this thing, right? So can it dehydrate? I'm not going to say that other things can't be put into it, but another thing is it polar or is it non-polar? And I cannot see if it is. It says colorless liquid, and I'm trying to find out if it can be into a...
I think it's immiscible. Just that's not a NIOSH. I'm just remembering from dealing with the stuff.
Yeah.
I thought with that chlorine it separates.
It's a non-combustible liquid. I don't think this will ever go into a solid because unless it freezes, which is -9 Fahrenheit. So I would wager a guess that this was still a liquid when they saw it 60 years later.
Wow.
I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Either way, it's something. It's unusual. It's and the other on the same line. And there's been a couple in the news, and they had we learned about one when we were out in Mass, and we're hopefully going to get a write-up on it. The chloropicrins that were put into old safes. That they're going in and drilling these safes, and then they hit the basically what kind of tear gas.
Very nice.
Interesting.
I like that. All right, let's see. We have the third one. North Haven firefighters extinguish a rail car blaze, and this is North Haven, I'm guessing, Connecticut. I should really look at these towns here. While you guys look it up, North Haven, no one was injured as firefighters extinguished a one-alarm blaze Saturday morning after a rail car caught fire in the railway. Is in a press release. The hopper car that caught fire is reportedly carrying construction debris. Fortunately, no rail cars are carrying hazardous materials, and the hopper car was safe from any structures. The Let's see.
I love when they say construction debris and there's no hazardous materials. This kind of reminds me of a department recently that went to a garbage type recycled area where they were told there was no hazmat there, but they saw several tanks and mattresses and whatever. Consider everything hazmat. That's pretty much the way to protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, one of these hopper cars, I'm guessing they're thinking it's basically like a tractor trailer type, open topped, tractor trailer type thing.
On the picture, let's see the picture they have there. Yeah, I mean, it looked like one of those open top rail cars.
Yeah, and they got a stick up. That's just dumping off a ladder pipe into the top of the thing. But my main concern would be the runoff.
Right.
I'm not really concerned about the weight of the water that's building up into this thing. This thing is probably not watertight.
No.
I'm going to be pHing. I'm going to be trying to contain it until I can verify that the pH is within EPA guidelines, which typically, you know what, you guys can speak a little bit about this, but for us, the pH for us to dump it has to be within 5 to 9.
Right. Yeah, we're the same. And we got to get permission from our stormwater people.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to just do that, but.
Really? You can't just dump it?
No. You technically can't dump a pool water without permission from the not stormwater discharge, just the water people. Everything goes to the ocean.
See, I find this funny because it's like I had this discussion with a couple of people, and I'm not debating you or anything like that. I've had discussions with guys where 30 years ago when I was a kid, or 40 years ago when I was a kid, whatever it might be, you used to take the lacquer thinners, the paint thinners, the gasoline, just dump it in the front yard right down the drain, and everything was all right. And it's not like replaced everything in the world to comply with this new standard. They just don't want to dump it in there anymore.
Yeah, and you go back, not to change subject, but some of my previous employers, and it was completely legal, and they still do it. Low-level radioactive waste that would go down just the sanitary sewer, and even a particular place I worked for way back in the day, and it was legal, but they would take the old laboratory chemicals and take them off at the end of a very, very, very popular pier and dump them in the ocean. And that was actually okay back in the day. But now even, like, say, pharmaceuticals, they don't want the public to flush their pharmaceuticals down the drain because it's just we got volume. The volume now is going into the wastewater treatment plants and it'll screw things up. So different times. We don't live in Rio. If you want to be in Rio, that's where you can just poop in the street, I guess.
I guess so. That's where all the cool kids are doing it, I guess, now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Flush it. Yeah.
We got number 4, which is the strong smell from Florida Turnpike deaths. And anybody got anything on this one?
Yeah, there's it's if you guys go to the Hazmat Nation, you'll see this update, which also has from the local news media, has the recorded. Was a recording on there, Phil, and the breakdown? If I'm not mistaken, on audio, and it typed out so you can read it. What the first 2 officers arriving on scene.
Let's say officers as in police officers.
Correct, police officers, yes, law enforcement. And I'll mention something at the end of this, but basically the one road officer pulled up, and one of the radio transmissions is that he needs help right away. He found a woman and a child in the car up against the median, appeared to not breathing, and he was going to break the window. Later, about 5 minutes later, he reported back that smelled some type of chemical. coming from the vehicle, and they were not able to see what was going on, and that they did confirm there was a small child and a female in there.
You want me to read this the article out, and then you can?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So this is, I think, basically a transcription of what happened. He radioed in at 3:14 p.m. that he needed help right away after finding a woman inside that was not breathing. Radio traffic shows. She also has a child in there, and we're going to have to break the window. They got it locked, the trooper said. 5 minutes later, he smelled a sort of chemical, records show. There's some kind of strong chemical coming out of the vehicle, and we're not sure what's coming out of there. There's one small child and a female, but they're not able to get in with the smell, he said. That's when the hazmat team was called, and the troopers started to shut down the turnpike. The trooper backed out to 100 feet away with several civilians, but noticed the breeze in the air. Smart. That's me paraphrasing that. Another trooper told him to get back to another 100 feet and stayed down. A quick record show. The wind is blowing at everybody, and we're going to see if we can move people. We're 250 feet back. A responding trooper brought in a screen to protect the area. Record show. We're just going to start feeling the effects back here, and we're going to be 200 to 150 to 200 feet back. Okay, fire rescue just got here on the road, and from that toll plaza, we're going to go ahead and clear out what you can, get those people out of there, and get yourselves down further. A trooper on the Osceola County deputies was taken to the hospital as a precaution, and they were released. The autopsies for the Lincolns have not been completed by the ME's office. The doctor is still waiting on laboratory results and further investigative work to be completed before he determines the manner or the cause of death. The Osceola County Sheriff's Office has only released one completely redacted report about the incident and has denied requests for additional reports. That's interesting. So let me just, it's unclear if it has drug-related. It's also unclear if there's any local or federal agencies helping the sheriff's office with this investigation. That's kind of interesting. They had a strong odor, and the breeze was bringing it downwind. I got to say, kudos to the cops for knowing the downwind, downstream, down upstate thing. You know, that's
yeah. And like we mentioned a few episodes back, this is in a rural area of the turnpike in Osceola County. So the response time there is could be anywhere from 15, 20 minutes or more, just depending on where it's at. It's really remote between Kissimmee and I think Fort Pierce area. So it's a good stretch. What they're looking at, and I did some research online, was that they're still waiting, like the report said from the ME's office. There's some speculation as to whether or not it was, as we mentioned in one of the earlier episodes, the battery, which is underneath the front seat. Looking in some of the forums online, there's all kinds of reports of these batteries exploding or venting. Most of the ones that I've read online stated something about the vent tube came disconnected. There possible buildup of hydrogen, and if there's an ignition source, there could be a slight explosion. There's also others where they had what they felt was a cell overheated or expanded because of overcharging, and it caused some type of irritation that would be consistent with a corrosive. So the news reports were also saying that she had work done on the exhaust system a couple days beforehand. So, again, not the Monday morning quarterback anything, but if the officer's talking about burning or smelling something, you're smelling the chemical. We know carbon monoxide. You're not going to smell it. So I'm going to rule that one out just based on what I know about carbon monoxide, especially if I'm standing outside. And he's standing outside and he's smelling a chemical type odor, knowing the battery's under the seat. Again, I'm not there. They're still doing the investigation, but
yeah, but that could be something as silly as the chemical battery casing melting.
Yeah, true.
It could be that weird smell, like when it doesn't happen very much anymore. But when you burned out, your old amplifier or something like that, you used to burn out a resistor, and you go, "What is this?" But it wasn't enough to start a fire or start a smoke. You just had that smell, that little minuscule. Maybe it's pumping out 1,000 parts per million of carbon monoxide with just that little thought of chemical.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's almost like it's an episode of CSI, but it happened. I won't theorize either. I think I would guess that they've got their hands full. I would guess that Porsche has engineers on this. I'm not convinced it's the battery myself. I mean, I was a kid that sat in the back seat of a Volkswagen Bug, and anybody remembers that. Once the springs wear out, they go and they make contact with the battery that's underneath the seat. We had a station wagon with an exhaust leak, and it just put us to sleep. I don't know, but I think I wondered, too, that initial contact the police officer had. From the pictures, I couldn't tell if airbags had deployed or not, and if there was anything with that, with the azide in the air. If it was psychosomatic, if it was bad Mexican food, I don't know. But if anything we learned from this, it should make you think. We get in some debates around here because, rapid intervention team on a fire is important, but I personally have a problem setting up a RIC team if there's still, active rescue, active search involved, meaning we signed up for a tough job. So, we'll have a rapid intervention team when we can manage a company, but it doesn't mean they're standing there while there's potentially victims inside using your resources. In this call, I think the cops did what they had to do then, but it's something we all need to be kind of reflective on and say, hey, what if we had that same call again? And what are some options? What could we have maybe done to at least get a door open or a window breached for a small child, in quicker time, if we could? I wasn't there, and that's what I'm thinking.
Let me just expand, because I think I'm picking up what you're laying down here. You're saying you're not going to put a RIC team in while there's still viable people, let's say a mall, whatever.
We get paid a lot of money to go in and save John Q. Public, so we set aside a team for us too early, and a lot of people have a problem with that, and I actually, it's just the same concept.
Are you saying that you're going to have, let's say you have a team of 4 that's going to do the entry, and you're going to have a team of 4 standing outside. You're going to say, I'm putting a team of 8 to go in there and pull these guys out. I'm not gonna pull no punches here. We're gonna go in with everybody we got and make every viable pull, and then we'll drop back and start with the staggered approach. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. What I'm saying is I wouldn't have a RIC team standing by just because there's a truck company on the roof when there's active potential victims inside. Now, once you got everything covered, you got a RIC team. I relate it to this, only saying think about the gear you have, or rolled up windows in a police cruiser, and think about other, because I'm racking my brain thinking of anything that could be in that car that requires 250 feet. But they made that decision, and you know what? We have no idea if those 2 lives were dead way before they even showed up. So they did as good a job as they could.
If you look at the ERG, and that's probably what these guys did, the ERG standard is 75 feet for a solid, 150 feet for a liquid, and 300 feet for a gaseous. So these guys were ballsy. You want to look at it.
And they're in a tough position now. If they went in and did, people are gonna say if they went in and did something, and then it was a tough call, but it should all make us just reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's going to probably end up coming out, if I had to hazard a guess, is it's going to be some type of accidental unknown, and they'll probably never know.
Yeah, it's like the fire marshal. Wow. It's always electrical.
Yeah.
Every fire, it's electrical.
It's a cigarette.
Exactly.
Wow.
So,
anyway, I think all of us, we've had a lot of thoughts about it, and what a tragic thing, and even for those that had to be there, because I'm sure they're racking their brains too. But so far, I just wish I wish we had some tox reports that said, or a strange lover that got picked up for poisoning them or something to make some sense of it. But crazy.
Yep.
Well, I think that's Why don't let's wrap it up. We'll keep everybody on their toes. We'll leave them wanting more.
Absolutely.
Well, that's up another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook at hazmatnation.com and the Hazmat Guys. Guys, let's go around the table, at least the two of us or the three of us that are actually here. Phil, first in, last out. Where can we find you?
Phil Ambrose, HazSim, and Hazmat Nation, and awesome work by Jason Rogers, who's been we've been kind of sharing the load, and he's probably carrying a little more than me on Hazmat Nation. And throw it in there. Some of these incidents, you get the news article, it doesn't do it justice. If you were on them and you're like, I was on that call, and no, it didn't go down that way. If you're not allowed to talk about it, we could do it in general ways. We actually have some stuff coming up with some calls that happened that if you read the news, it was pretty humdrum, but what went down on scene was really cool. So we're going to try to highlight some of those. So if you got some scoops, send it our way. If you want to write it up and get your name on there, fine. If you want to be anonymous, we can just talk about the hazmat and not give any details. That's it.
Cool.
Bobby, what do you got?
Yeah, Bob Castagnetti. You can hit me at hcmtlt@gmail.com or at HazSim. We're going to be in September. We're going to be at Virginia Beach Hazmat Conference, doing the hands-on HazSim, hands-on Hazmat Challenge, and new topic kind of related to this, the gray area where rescue meets Hazmat. You know, we go to a lot of calls that come out as medical calls, and they end up being Hazmat calls. So if you're in the Virginia Beach area towards the middle of September, come on out to the conference and get your learn on.
Nice. I'll be in Virginia, but I'll probably be in the Appalachian Trail hiking.
Just wave to me when you go by.
Yeah. And a smelly mess. I am Bobby Salvesen. I am one of the two guys that does the Hazmat Guys podcast, where we really break down this stuff into like what we call a 5th grade level. So if you want to learn the basics of advanced stuff, check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, or Gmail, Google Music. You can find us at thehazmatguys.com, and you can email me at bob@thehazmatguys.com. And we are going to be together once again in Nashville,
November.
October. And
third week of October, I think.
For Firehouse, we have a big house they gave us to make meth, and we'll show you all how to make meth. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Are we live? Not only meth, but bulk amounts of weed.
And I remember my old LSD formulas for bathtub LSD.
Yeah. It's Hazmat House of Horrors, however you want to lay it out, but it's a very big house that's going to have is it pulling all stops, right? Sky's the limit that Firehouse has given us to put into this. And the goal is whoever's in that class, whether you're a hazmat tech or have never done hazmat, but if you're sitting in the seat, you will roll in on some calls that are going to give you some experience. And like I said, we're going to have a lot of meth and weed, so. But yeah, like Bob said, get your learn on. And they just announced there's an IAFF thing on the tail end of it. There's country western bands if you're into that kind of thing. It's going to be and I was talking to some Nashville guys just the other day, and they said if you haven't been here in a few years, man, it's really just I guess that downtown is really something else. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time, and hopefully everybody's going to get something out of it.
And me and Mike are going to speak at the Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's going to be a wicked pisser. We're going to be going up there. Mike is doing his all-inclusive oxidizer, and I am doing a deal on transferring of flammable liquids from tank to tank, with your basically your leaking tank type thing in the considerations. It should be pretty good. I'm working on that right now. But with all that being said, please be sure to be catching next show live today. There he goes.
He's got to run.
Next week, a show every Tuesday at 21:15 hours Eastern Standard on Google Hangouts. Please take a second to plus one us. We've made it real easy on both the HazmatGuys.com and Hazmat Nation. You can click the button and just like us. And when that happens, when we make a new episode, you'll be notified that we have a new episode. You can say, yeah, I'm going to watch it, or no, and it'll help you out. So check it out. And then we also make this episode into a audio-only podcast version that you can find on iTunes under the Hazmat Guys Nation. Or you can just check it out on YouTube. We're going to put this on YouTube as well. As soon as we stop, you get to see it immediately because we're that cool.
We are that cool.
And it's now live in the top corner of Hazmat Nation. It'll if you forget how to get to the show, you can get it live right there, right. It can't. I have to show up to your house to click it for you. I will.
Yes, and we're gonna see Plymouth Rock, which is like a pebble, from what I'm understanding. It's not very.
Really?
Yeah, I heard it's like very anticlimactic.
Oh.
Kind of like the Mona Lisa in Paris. It's like this.
Like, All right.
All right.
That's
Be
it.
safe.
Goodbye, everybody.